shouting and torches. The police are crazy and brazy. If you're lucky, they're tasing. Fearful cowards giving too much power. With their gun, they tower. Nothing but a government's gang. They maintain all the structural pain. Police and thugs for gangsters that can't be tamed. We got the numbers, but they got the guns. We got the power, but they got the funds. They are smart and deadly. Their heavy bars weigh a ton, and their tear gas is flowing fast. You need to run. We do this for the revolution. We all do this for fun. These dark days feel like a fucking haze.
Hello to anyone listening, and welcome to The Patriotic Communist. This is Max Rice, and this is the podcast where I advocate for a socialist revolution in the United States of America, and where I analyze current events from a far-left perspective. We're in the historical context where we choose socialism or barbarism, and that has never been more true. And I'd like to add, this show is called The Patriotic Communist because I love my home, which is America, the United States of America. I'm not a nationalist, I am an internationalist, and I see the philosophy of Trotsky as the theory of permanent revolution as an international effort, as the ideology that I see the world through. And I truly agree that we are all connected regardless of ethnicity or country or any other arbitrary barriers that society has placed in front of us. And part of the reason I call this show The Patriotic Communist is because when I grew up, I was taught that there's nothing more unpatriotic than being a communist, yet I love my fellow Americans, just like I love my fellow humans in Mexico and in China and in India and across the world, in Europe, Africa, everywhere. We are all a lot more similar than we give each other credit for, and we are strong together, and we all want the same thing. We want to live. The innocent want to live, but the evil have the initiative to control, and we must not let them, and we must control our own lives. And I believe the idea of using the term patriot in my title is good for deconverting the type of people that would usually be most aggressively against communism, because I grew up somewhat in the South. I'm from Virginia, and I have a lot of friends that are dead against the concept of communism, but they don't know what it is, and they see themselves as patriots. But anyways, in this episode, I'm going to talk about the idea that came from the Jimmy Dore Show, which is a political commentary YouTube channel hosted by Jimmy Dore, who is a comedian. Now, I do have a bias with the fact that Jimmy Dore was a big part of my initial political awakening, although this is irrelevant for the subject matter of this episode. He's not a revolutionary socialist, so I would describe myself as to the left of him, but regardless, he has started a pressure campaign that I see as very valuable. So what is it? Well, the Force the Vote movement, the hashtag Force the Vote, it's a pressure campaign to get the Squad and any other member of the House of Representatives in the United States that supports Medicare for All to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House unless she brings Medicare for All to the House floor for a vote. This pressure campaign started about a month ago, I believe, and the reason that this makes a lot of sense is, first of all, in the middle of a pandemic, if you're an elected official and you're not using every piece of power that is in your hands to get the American people health care, then you are the enemy of the people. So, of course, you should not vote for anybody that gets in your way of Medicare for All. And Nancy Pelosi is as corrupt as they come and the enemy of the American people. The American people know this. I believe Pelosi has an approval rating around 15%, which is either the lowest in Congress out of anyone, or it's among the lowest. So why would you vote for someone like that unless you gain something specific for the vote? This is very basic politics, and you could say the same thing for Joe Biden in this general election, where he repeatedly claimed that he would veto Medicare for All if it came to his desk, even if it passed through Congress. So I don't know why you'd vote for someone like that in a pandemic, or why you'd throw your support behind them, but anyways. Even furthermore, though, the Democrats have an extremely slim majority right now, and with the pandemic, it is not even unlikely that some members could be sick at the time of the vote and not able to cast a vote, making their majority even slimmer. This majority is right around 4 to 10 seats, I believe. So what this means is that they have some serious leverage over Nancy Pelosi. She cares about the power that she holds, and you can seriously jeopardize her power by withholding your vote in order to get the concessions of the Medicare for All vote on the House floor. So with this leverage, they have power, which is rarely the case for the 12 or so Congress members that verbally agree with implementing Medicare for All by any means necessary and don't take corporate money directly. Now, in bad faith, there have been a number of political commentators that have discredited this plan with lies. for example, the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, most specifically, I believe, claim that we can't risk allowing Kevin McCarthy to become Speaker of the House, who is a Republican. Now, this is a bad faith attack, frankly, because he would not win simply because alleged progressives withhold their vote. You need 218 votes to become the Speaker, which is a majority. A simple plurality does not make the cut for someone to be elected as Speaker of the House. And in fact, if no one gets the majority of 218 votes in the House, then no one becomes the Speaker after the vote. They instead have another vote later on. This is basic mechanics of how Congress works, and they fucking know this, and they're lying to you. So the argument that we can't risk having a Republican Speaker is insane, and simply a purposeful misinformation campaign designed to protect the Squad and the other allegedly progressive members of the House. And even if a Republican speakership is what was being risked, I would still completely support this campaign. Nancy Pelosi is pretty much just as bad as any Republican. Semantics are the differences. I also heard the argument that a vote for Medicare for All would not even pass the House, so what is the point? Well, this is also ridiculous, because this would mostly be a mask-off moment for America, for them to see that the House of Representatives, which is the branch of government that is specifically designed to be the most responsive to the wishes of the U.S. constituents, that they're willing to vote against a policy that is not only overwhelmingly popular according to every recent poll, but also would save tens of thousands of lives in 1 year alone, around 50,000 or more lives in 1 year alone. For the American people to see that happen in the House of Representatives would be incredibly powerful, especially in the middle of the largest health crisis in any of our lifetimes. So there's literally no better time to do this. So the idea that, well, why bring it to the floor before we are certain it's going to pass, it's fucking asinine. It really is. This is the time to force it to the floor. And when you have leverage, they happen to have leverage during a pandemic, which heightens the health crisis that we were already in before the pandemic. So the time has never been riper to really do everything you can to bring this to the floor. And what that would do is create an environment where left-wing activism is more prosperous. It is making our enemies make our argument for revolution for us. It exposes the decrepit, broken system that we live inside of. So the argument that there isn't really any point to bringing Medicare for All to the floor vote is completely ridiculous. Also, I don't even think it is a sure thing that they would vote it down, to be honest, because I do think that would politically hurt or even devastate a lot of Congress members. But regardless of whether it passes or not, getting a vote right now is absolutely essential if you truly believe in the fight for Medicare for All. And all of these weak, cowardly excuses for not holding Congress's feet to the fire are absolute bullshit, and the product of mental gymnastics to not fight. There has been a lot of smearing of Jimmy Dore's character as a result of this pressure campaign, and it is frankly disgusting, and it seems to be coming from a place of petty jealousy and corporate influence. The Young Turks, the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, and every single member of Congress that is run on Medicare for all seem to be rejecting this plan. And it reveals that they are all grifters, plain and simple. In the case of the members of Congress, they're capitulators to the Democratic Party. They're part of the Democratic Party. They have a function to Nancy Pelosi to bring suckers that believe in the right thing into being tricked that the Democrats are there with them when they're not. I am a revolutionary socialist who sees capitalism as a major problem and the root of the multitude of crises we have found ourselves in, and I think that that's pretty much close to being a scientific fact. And these crises include our climate crisis, our health crisis, our economic crisis, our education crisis, and the crisis of our imperialism. And in most episodes, these are the subjects that I am discussing. With that being said, this country is in an incredibly large amount of pain right now. Millions already didn't have health care, and millions more have lost it this year. Because of the healthcare crisis we face in this country, it is imperative that everything is done to pass Medicare for All, and shame on anyone that tells you otherwise. Shame on anyone that pretends like they agree with that and don't support this basic minimum level pressure campaign that is nowhere near enough. We should be advocating for everyone to hit the streets and be threatening to not vote for anyone that doesn't do this. Now, part of the idea of this campaign is also the fact that when these fake progressives in Congress do not use their leverage and instead stay loyal to Nancy Pelosi at the expense of the movement for the life-saving legislation Medicare for All, that by rejecting this plan, they're revealing themselves as part of the problem. So that's part of the idea behind this, is that it's like it reveals who our enemies are and who our allies are. Now, this is the part that I actually disagree with, but I disagree with this because I believe they've already exposed themselves through a number of ways. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that they're not going to do this, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I still believe that all of you guys should call them. Every member of the squad, call them, email them, harass them. And it's not really harassing because they work for us, but do everything you can so that they hear this message loud and clear. I 100% support that. But I disagree with the idea that this would be a mask-off moment for them, because I believe they have already exposed themselves through a number of ways. They all voted for the renewal of the Patriot Act, which is a draconian piece of legislation that allows the government to unconstitutionally spy on us. It's literally a weapon that they use against the people. They also voted for the CARES Act, which was the most devastating piece of economic legislation in my lifetime. And if you want to know the details behind that legislation, I talk about it in pretty deep detail in episode 3 of this podcast. Now, there's no reasonable excuse for these votes, and frankly, it is obvious to me that they will not cross Nancy Pelosi. But that could be me being too much of a pessimist. Because if there really is enough public pressure, they really have no choice. And they do want to keep their power. So there is a caveat there. But it does seem pretty apparent to me that they're not going to cross Nancy Pelosi. It would be great if they do, and everyone listening should, again, call members of the House and pressure them to do this. And some other reasons I think that these people are exposed. Ro Khanna's wife makes profit off of her investments in the war industry. So while Ro Khanna politically positions himself as an anti-war advocate, his family profits off of the blood spilled overseas. So fuck Ro Khanna for that. AOC is now accepting large sums of money for speeches. So even the members of Congress that don't seem corrupt, they either are, or they take orders from corruption, such as Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, or they're well on their way to becoming corrupt. A little reminder, Nancy Pelosi, I'm pretty sure in the 90s, she was advocating for Medicare for All. And then the second she gets in a position where she can really actually make a difference on that front, she's vehemently opposed to it. Does it sound familiar? Now, I'm going to put the link to the petition for members of Congress to force the vote in the description of this podcast. It is the absolute least that we can do right now to make sure Congress hears us loud and clear. So please, click the link for forcethevote.org and sign the petition. This country is entering some of its darkest times in history, and I'm disgusted by our broken system of neo-fascism where our government and our corporations work hand in hand to control us. We do not live in a democracy, and many of us are witnessing firsthand the structural violence of extreme poverty. The food lines are getting longer, and people are getting more desperate through no fault of their own. We are heading towards brutal, totalitarian fascism rapidly, while our population seems to be dramatically at risk of homelessness in numbers that we've never seen in this country before. And the answer to this unfathomably corrupt and broken system is a workers' revolution, an international effort for a workers' revolution to take the power back into our own hands. But at the same time, we must absolutely help our fellow suffering humans in any chance we get. And right now, that means we have to #ForceTheVote. It also means that every day we need to acknowledge our imperialist state and we need to fight it tooth and nail every day in some way. I'm with Jimmy Dore 100% on this. Like I said, we need to force the vote. And anyone telling you that it's not a good idea, I'll tell you a secret, they're full of shit. And they're on the wrong side of history. Now, to end this episode, I want to apologize. for the promise of consistent episodes, and it seems like I've been needing to apologize for this a lot lately. I am a very busy person that is relentlessly pursuing a career as a music producer and music creator, as a rapper and a beat maker and a general music producer. I make this show all on my own without anybody's help, including writing, researching, recording, editing, uploading, social media, and I do not make any money off of it. I don't even accept donations. So, my plate is often full since I must pursue my career quite relentlessly, especially something like a music career, if I want to get anywhere, and this show takes a lot of hours of effort for every podcast episode I make. And I'm not perfect with my time management. This is not an excuse for not uploading when I say I will. I should have not made podcast schedules that I was not capable of maintaining. So this really isn't an excuse. I'm simply explaining why I've not been able to upload consistently. It may seem like I am overhyping this, but I see it as a personal credibility problem that I'm going to correct. And it is frankly hypocritical of me with how I talk about how the left must be militant. I will always be honest with you guys. I might be wrong every once in a while, but I will always be honest. I have absolute freedom with this podcast and what I say and what I talk about, and that will never change. What will change is me doing my best to live by the militancy that I preach. There is a war coming, I fear, and we must be ready to fight from a position of discipline and strength when shit hits the fan. Because when countries head first in a totalitarian fascist state like America seems to be doing, we must be prepared to defend ourselves and our fellow Americans. So, for 2021, I want to make it up to my listeners and the revolutionary socialist movement by being more realistic with my release dates, so that my word is consistently true and I give myself more credibility, even when simply talking about semantics of the show, such as release dates. So the next release date will be February 1st, and I hope y'all come back to take a listen. And I really do apologize for the inconsistency. Also, send me an email if you want to talk about anything, if you want to recommend sources or concepts or subjects for me to check out, or if you want to have a conversation about something I said that you don't think is accurate, or literally anything else. I also have, by the way, here's a little quick shameless plug for myself and that music career that I was talking about. I have a somewhat new album out. You actually heard some of the new music in the new intro and outro to the podcast. This is part of the reason I've been really busy. So I'm a rapper and a producer. So this new album is full of my political beliefs in the lyrics and in the messages. I compose everything and produce everything and do everything myself, just like I do with this podcast. I did that with this album. So it's completely a product of my artistic heart, for lack of a better term. And it's full of my political beliefs. And within the music career I'm pursuing, I'm also trying to spread awareness and communist philosophy and revolutionary ideas in order to create the artistic space for others to do the same. Because we all know how powerful art can really be in awakening the consciousness of a country. So, and whatever your unique way of fighting for the revolution is, do it, and do it relentlessly. Do it unapologetically. We need to unapologetically fight for the desperate people in this country. And I am going to be releasing a new episode February 1st. And I applaud Jimmy Dore for him sticking his neck out here and doing this movement. And fuck anyone smearing his personal character, claiming he's doing this for clicks. I mean, the more clicks he gets, the more effective this campaign is. So, no fucking shit. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous and it's just fucking obscene. And fuck the Majority Report, fuck the Young Turks, and fuck any member of Congress that is willing to vote for Nancy Pelosi without getting anything for it. And we need Medicare for all now. There's nothing better than getting the Medicare for all vote now on the House floor right now. We are in a pandemic. So I absolutely support this campaign. And January 3rd, we'll see what they do. It's coming very soon. This podcast is being released January 1st, and I'm recording and writing it the day before. I just wrote it. I'm recording it now. And yeah. So, I hope all of you guys are doing okay. My heart goes out to anyone in desperate poverty. I know that there's a lot of you guys in that, and we need to be there for each other. It's the people, it's us versus them at the end of the day. Karl Marx was right. It's the bourgeoisie against the proletariat. The owners against the not owners. And we must recognize this, and we must unify together. and we must show and flex our muscles and try to bring about as much peaceful change as we possibly can before it's too late and we are dragged into miserable unrest and warfare. Because again, I fear that a war is coming. I never advocate for violence, but we must be prepared to defend ourselves. Anyways, stay vigilant, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay militant. And I love all of you guys. I love all my fellow Americans. I love all my fellow workers around the world. I love all my fellow humans around the world. No matter what walk of life you're from, your life has value, and together we are powerful.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Patriotic Communist. All of the music you heard in this podcast was produced and performed by me, Max Rice, and if you would like to check it out, just search Max Rice on any streaming platform. That's M-A-X-R-I-C-E. Yes, like the food rice. This is Max Rice, signing off.
We got blood on our hands and nobody cares. They dehumanize the victims and we listen while none of us are there. I swear, this sickness will eat us all up. The bombs, the drones, fire and pain, this can't be contained. I feel like I'm living in a six-source story. Yeah, the news is bloodthirsty, forming a submissive herd. In the story, there is no glory, it's dark and gory, we should be worried. Our country is collapsing, and remember, power tends to merge. They constantly bomb this earth, war criminals less than dirt. When they put them in the earth, no need to waste a hearse. This system is vicious, the rulers are ruthless. Maybe riots will prove we ain't clueless or toothless. Cause we need shit to change, not just rearrange. You can't smother a flame that can't be contained. That'll cause lethal pain. But it all stays the same. We give terrorists money, we give terrorists guns, we destroy Iraq and Libya. Countless dead to raise some funds, all stolen from us. When the bombs are falling, there is nowhere to run. My metaphors are vivid, I ain't gonna be cryptic. There ain't no flowers in this image, I've never lived it. But I know the pitch ridiculous is pulling this shit for profit. I live in the belly of the beast, a beast history has never seen. Blood for money, people never change. We gotta move past this, we're controlled by the deranged. I'm seeing greed in my feet, got rich in Congress, you need to leave. We are focused on the wrong type of green. It's just a matter of time and sparks. It's just a scatter of crimes and sharks. We're just seconds from absolute chaos, cause society is built on oligarchs paying us. If our system doesn't break down in this crisis, still don't matter, more on the way, we can't fight less. Physical power is priceless, but so is obedience. We got flip that switch, don't trust any of them, fuck that shit. We got flip that switch, don't trust any of them, fuck that shit. Don't trust them for a second, corrupt, factless, and reckless. The people are correct, democracy needs defense. The rulers fight this, power is priceless. They hate that I write this. Money makes the country go around. All these people sleep outside of empty homes. This is a failed state, everyone needs to know. They can't get us meds, instead they let innocent people be dead. The government has lost its cred. We ain't gonna fucking pretend. We give terrorists money, we give terrorists guns, we destroy Iraq and Libya. Countless dead to raise some funds, all stolen from us. When the bombs are falling, man, there's nowhere to run. We got blood on our hands and nobody cares. We got blood on the hands and nobody cares. We got blood on our hands and nobody cares. We got blood on the hands This sickness will eat us all up. The bombs, drones, the fire and pain. This shit can't be contained.